Puniyani. If you Google it, and I did it, and I asked him about it, is it this? And he agreed that what it is. The informations are correct, and most of the informations are very well written. Apparently, he's a man of just pre-independence time when he was born in 1945. He's a physician by profession who worked through the collaboration with IIT Bombay, biomedical engineering as well. But then he has started to become something else as well. He's a writer, he works in communal harmony, he's a public speaker, he's a teacher, researcher, and after all, people like him listening to as well. So I asked him to come to the podium and enlighten us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, friends. I'm very honored to be invited by you, and such a generous appreciation from your side. I'm really touched about that. Now, coming to the topic today, I must say that my previous speakers have very well exhausted the topic in great amount of subtlety, detail. Can I wait? Should I wait for some time?
You can go ahead.
Please quiet, and even the people who are in the area.
I think people need a cup of tea. Listening is more difficult than speaking, I know that.
We can come close to you.
Yeah.
Please, we can come here so that we can hear better instead of sitting in the back. Please coming forward, and we have a good grasp of understanding and listening. Please listen to a professor. Whoever is sitting in the back, please come forward. And I'm requesting those people who are using the tea not to talk too loud. Thank you. Thank you. Our beloved Mr. Puniyani, Dr. Puniyani is addressing us. This is a very important, very essential that we can listen to him. Please come close to us. And people in the chai booth, please do not talk. Come here and keep quiet. Thank you. Jazakallah.
Yeah. So thank you, friends. Now, of course, as my description shows that I was something else, and then I gravitated toward this subject. Honestly, I must say that through my long association and trying to understand the social issues, I came to two important conclusions for myself, just for myself. Number one, that society has a lot of inequalities, injustices, it needs change. And this change can come only through democracy. That's the conviction I came to. Second thing I learned that this change can come only through social movements. Like there are different phases of my own political journey, my wanting to understand why, how can we have a better society and all that. So before December 6, 1992, I was seriously involved with, as a side to my professional activity, I was involved with the workers' unions. That time workers were losing their jobs. That was the main thing I was trying to associate. Now with Babri demolition, I felt a lot of change. And two things came instinctively to me. Number one, that this is not just an attack on Babri Mosque, not just an attack on Muslims. I perceived it as an attack on Indian democracy, number one. Number two, I also felt that this has something to do with India's caste system. That complicated thing, how it came to my mind, I don't know, but later on I got validated that it is precisely to retain the caste and gender hierarchy of the feudal times that this politics in the name of Hindutva is coming. Of course, very complicated, difficult sentence, I'll try to understand it. Anyway, first things first. So immediately when this Babri demolition took place, that time I was working in IIT, and faculty, staff, students, everybody started saying something abusive things about Muslims. Babar ki aulad. Understand? Family, students, faculty, everybody same thing. I suddenly struck me how Babar has ended up here. Babar died long ago. How he is revived? with such abusive things and all that. And then, of course, I remembered something from my history, which I think I try to use in a very rational sense. I remembered that Babur was invited to India by none other than Rana Sanga. First thing. Later on that, I also came to know that there is a will by Babur. Babur had left a will for his son Humayun, that Babur ki wasiyat, son Humayun, this let's thank Allah for giving us the opportunity to rule on this beautiful country. Let's rule here with justice, but remember that the majority of the people here are Hindus. They worship in temples, they respect cows, so be gentle to their sentiments. This was none other than Babur. And then I saw around everybody saying Babur this, Babur that, so that is something which shook me. And that's what led me to try to understand the history in a proper sense. Now, why history? Why not other things? Because major perceptions which I saw in the society began from history, especially medieval Indian history. There is a lot of material in that which can be seen in a very positive light and which can also be used to demonize others. It can also be used to demonize Hindus if you are in Pakistan. It can be used to demonize Muslims if you are in India. So, a lot of things like that happen. Anyway, so first thing which struck me, that I am witnessing a great big violence in Bombay, sitting in the IIT tower or whatever you call it. A massive violence is going on and you can't do a thing about it. So, of course, usual thing, peace marches, relief work and all that. But what prompted me to see that those people who are getting killed in this violence, they are guilty people or innocent people? This is a question I posed to myself. And then, of course, later on I extended it to currently when I say, I give various examples. One particular, this is, I'm just fast forwarding. One example which I give very commonly is about 2013. 2013, I hope you recall that right in the beginning of the year, there was violence in Lahore and some localities of Christians were burned, many Christians were killed. 3 months later, Muzaffarnagar, Uttar Pradesh, India, many Muslim villages destroyed, many Muslims killed. And not to be left behind, 3-4 months later, there is Bangladesh. Bangladesh also somebody is being killed. Who's that? That is Hindus and Buddhists. So this, when I put the picture together, first thing which strikes me very deeply, very hurtingly, and that it is by and large the innocent people who get killed in the communal violence, number one. And number two, those who get the violence done. Please note, second study, this violence is not accidental, it is not spontaneous, it is a planned violence. It is so well planned that it looks spontaneous, if I am to express myself correctly. And then, how can these guilty people be killed? Very simple, that there is a perception in the community which demonizes them. Like in Pakistan, it is Hindus and Christians who are looked down upon them. In India, Muslims, and don't forget, Christians are also joining this thing. And in Bangladesh, Buddhists and Hindus. And these perceptions, I have broadly learned a term called social common sense. Now, social common sense, the way social common sense was prevalent in earlier times about women, about Dalits, that women cannot study, should not study, etc., etc. Current times, the social common sense is focused in India, particularly against Muslims very heavily and partly against Christians. Of course, Christians have also joined the whole this thing from last 10-15 years. They are also a good deal of victim. Now, this social common sense, how does this violence take place is the first thing which we try to understand. Then here, of course, I will recommend you some of the things which you should see sometimes because the problem is getting out of hand and all that. There is a Hindi serial based on Bhishma Sahani's film. What is that 3-part serial? I'm just forgetting the name on the spur of the moment. There is Om Puri, there is this thing, and that is based on the partition story. So one of the things which incident is given there, that a Muslim politician, of course politician, the way they dress and all that, comes to a Dalit, Om Puri, and gives him some money, says that you kill this pig and go and put it in a mosque. Now Om Puri, very simple-minded Dalit, he says, yes, you are telling me I'll get the money, but how will you benefit by this? What is your advantage in this? He said, you don't understand, but my calculation is that when you will put the pig in the mosque, I will spread the word that Hindus have killed the pig, communal violence will take place, and my stature in the society will go up. So this point again, I will come back to this, that who benefits from the communal violence, there is a very difficult pattern. So one, innocent people get killed, and the guilty people generally get promoted in the political social hierarchy. And two examples I'll give you. One is from our Bombay. You may be knowing one person in Bombay who were experts in beating up others. You don't remember? Our Bal Thackeray?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, so after 92-93 violence, he started being addressed as Hindu Hriday Samrat. So earlier he was a simpleton like you and me probably, and not like you and me. He became Hindu Hriday Samrat, and what striking coincidence that after 2002 Gujarat violence, Narendra Modi was also promoted to the same stature. Anyway, later on of course, Narendra Modi made a lot of big strides. Nobody now remembers him as a Hindu Hriday Samrat. He has made different strides today. Anyway, so communal violence is the root of polarization. Polarization is, what is polarization? For example, in today's context, now a majority community is made to perceive that this minority is a threat to you. So that's how this polarization works, and that's how, if you can get the Gujarat violence orchestrated, for next 3 elections, your victory is sure. Why people don't see that violence has taken place under your chief ministership? People then say that this is the person who has saved us from the minorities who are so violent. My personal experience after Mumbai violence of 92-93, I was just visiting one shop. There was one police inspector who was friendly to the shopkeeper, and they were talking. And shopkeeper was saying, oh, very good, thanks to Shiv Sena that we Hindus are saved. Otherwise these Muslims would have finished us. So see how the inversion of reality in these cases of violence starts taking place. And before that, how the ground is prepared. Ground is as prepared. Just 2-3 examples I'll give, because a lot of these things I have already put in my videos and that you must have seen. But some of the things are very striking. Like in India, if you go, Muslims first are identified with the Muslim rulers. Many times I say, okay, rulers are rulers. For example, if Aurangzeb has done some atrocities, how is today's Muslim responsible for that? You can have, I don't know, imaginatively, if you know about H.G. Wells, that fiction, Time Machine, go back into the past, dig out Aurangzeb, punish him, I have no problem. But why demonize today's Muslims for whatever Aurangzeb did? Then 2 things, of course, that Muslim kings, very bad. They came on the horsebacks with Quran in one hand, sword in the other. Many people let me pass when I say that people say Muslim kings came with Quran in one hand, sword in the other. But sometimes I get caught also. Once in a college where the naughty students, young friends were there. As soon as I said Muslim king came, people say that Muslim kings came on the horseback with sword in one hand, Quran in the other. The students started saying, sir, you are wrong. I said, what happened? I said, if there is a Quran in one hand, sword in the other, how can he drive the horse? That's not, I don't know. Anyway, then I came to realize, how did Islam come to India? Did it come through sword? I can there tell one simple thing, that kings expand power, kings expand empires. Spreading religion is not on their menu. And that's where I quote generally one of the greatest historians of India, Romila Thopper, who tells us that none of the kings in the world spread their religion, barring one noble exception, and that is Emperor Ashoka. And what did he spread? Buddhism through particular way. And then, where was the head office of Muslim rule, so-called Muslim rule? It was not in Kerala. Where did the first mosque came up in India? It was in Kerala. So how did this happen? In Kerala, No Muslim rule. For a brief while, Tipu Sultan is there, but by and large, there are other rules. So the first mosque which came was because Arab traders were coming, having local interaction, and that's how the Islam came into India. Then what does Swami Vivekananda say about Islam coming to India? Swami Vivekananda, authentic source. Swamiji tells us, collected words, volume 8, page 330. What does he tell us? He says that it is wrong to say that Islam spread on the strength of the sword. The victims of the caste atrocities embraced Islam to escape the caste tyranny, and that's what the major phenomenon. Of course, there are various other things. I am not going to that. Then temple destruction became a very central point, especially after Babri demolition came up. Like they said, "Ye Ram Janmabhoomi," this one, and there, of course, I recommend you that all this temple destruction thing began, this whole propaganda, with this Babri demolition, Ram temple issue. And there is a beautiful film, if you have not seen, you should not miss it, and that is In the Name of God, Ram Ke Naam, by the great legendary, our friend, Anand Patwardhan. Ram Ke Naam, in Ram Ke Naam, when you see, you realize, Anand Patwardhan had a hard time. He's shooting the film before the demolition. He goes to Ayodhya, and he wants to find out what is this business about Ram temple being there precisely at the spot where Babri mosque is located. He goes and he interviews the pujaris. His first dilemma, I forgot to tell, first dilemma was that in Ayodhya there is not one Ram temple, there are nearly 50 Ram temples. No problem, more the merrier. Where the problem come? Anand interviews the pujaris of those temples. And he asked them, "Pujariji, tell me, what is the reason for fame of your temple?" Every pujari gives a single answer. Can you guess the answer? Lord Ram was born precisely in this spot. Now that is very important. Now if Lord Ram can get born at 50 places, I mean that's something very interesting scientifically. Okay, so again temple destruction, lot of reasons, lot of big things we can talk about it. But simple thing is that temples were destroyed for two major things. One, because they were repositories of wealth. And wealth not of ordinary proportions, wealth of mouth-watering proportions. Sometimes these days of course when I am talking to young friends, I tell them that somebody gave a promise that you vote for me, I'll get 15 lakhs in your account and good days will come. I said, okay, whether those good days are going to come or not, I don't know. But I can give you a promise, if you implement that, good days will definitely come. And the promise is that you collect the wealth from 100 richest temples of the country and honestly distribute the amounts amongst all of us equally. Good days will be there for you, all that the problem. So temples had wealth, so kings had eyes on that. Sometimes the temples were also destroyed to humiliate the defeated king. And one best examples of that come from the great articles by one historian in Frontline. And he tells us that whenever two Hindu kings were fighting, victor Hindu king used to destroy defeated Hindu king's Kul Devata, clan god temple, and that's how one of the reasons for that. So these have become such a powerful thing in people's mind that Muslim kings, Islam, temple destruction associated with today's Muslims. And of course, to add on that, I will definitely like to add one more thing. After 9/11, another thing also came up. Not many people might have referred to a great big phenomenon which took place and which has passed off also, like that Malegaon, Makkah Masjid, Samjhauta Express. In all those blasts, there was a hand of people who were Sadhu Pragya Singh Thakur, Asimanand, Lieutenant Prasad Purohit, etc., etc. Now, of course, the government has changed, so many of them are getting bail. That's another point. But this was also a great sequence. So 9/11/2001. After that, American media coined that word for the first time in the history of the world. What was that coin? What was that phrase? Islamic terrorism. Now in the world we know that terrorism has been there because there was the Irish Republican Army, Liberation Tiger of Tamil Nadu, the Khalistani terrorism, different type of terrorism were there. But so far, religion was not highlighted. After 9/11, deliberately religion was highlighted, and that has become a very strong point for demonization of the Muslim community. Anyway, so that all this has added this ongoing violence in India, in which, according to one statistic, 90% of the victims of communal violence, they are the Muslims. Please note statistics. 2011, the percentage of Muslim population is 14.2 in India. And from amongst those who are the victims of communal violence, 90% of them are Muslims. Now, of course, so this is another point which has come into being. Now, Indian Muslim community, slightly before I look into that, I must say there was a very nice presentation about pluralism and all that. How do we popularly perceive? There is syncretism, there is mixed culture, there is a interaction in the culture, and that's where we see. I try to understand it in very simple things. I know one good thing I came to know here, that a lot of friends here are from Hyderabad, and from last 3 months I am also living in Hyderabad, and the pleasures of one eating eatable cuisine, biryani, all over the country, wherever I go, I ask them. And this is one of the best examples of our syncretic culture, food. From where did it come? It comes from Iran. And what do they call there? They call it biryani. Of course, we are specialists in adding spices, making it more tasty, and it becomes biryani. So we cannot forget, those coming from Hyderabad cannot at least forget that. In our Mumbai, there is a similar thing called vada pav. I don't know whether you have enjoyed that. And vada pav is also very beautiful, you know. The outside of that vada pav is constituted by what we call as pav, which is a sort of a bread, which had come from Afghanistan. That vada is made of gram dal, which came from Mexico. And then there is a potato in that, which came from Spain. And for taste, we are adding ginger. And ginger came from a place from where these days everything is coming original duplicate. In India, it is India, America, China. Okay. So many things have come in, and we have such a sort of a integrative thing in our clothing, food habits. Forget that. Recently, BBC had conducted a survey amongst the non-resident Indians as to what are the bhajans, the Hindi devotional songs from Hindi films which you like most. And of course they listed 10 songs, I don't remember all of them. I remember one song which probably people close to my generation will identify, and that is from a film called Baiju Bawra. I don't know how many, so Baiju Bawra, who's the writer of the film? The writer of the song? Shakil Badayuni. Who's the singer? Muhammad Rafi. And who composed the music? Naushad Ali. Thank you very much. Now this goes from the past. And there is a recent film which is a big favorite of mine, like Amir Khan is a big favorite of mine for my various understanding. You remember that in Lagan there is a song which villagers sing on the 4th day evening of the test match between Amir Khan's team and Captain Russell's team. O Palanhare, Nirguna, and the writer is our close friend Javed Akhtar. And music is given by none other than Allah Rakha Rahman, one of the greatest music composers. So this is one aspect of our life, music. But highest thing I can tell you, the biggest synthesis which took place between Hindus and Muslims in particular is around two traditions. One tradition has roots in Hinduism, another tradition has roots in Islam. One is Bhakti tradition, another is Sufi tradition, and there are so beautiful stories about Muslims, Hindus, both following saints like Kabir. Of course, when I talk about saints, I have to become very careful, because I think our friend Rajiv told us about God market, because his saints are dominated by that God market, but my saints are different. My saints are those Kabir, Tukaram, Nassim Mehta and all that, those people who identified religion as love, giving love to society. That is what religion is. And the same thing near our Bombay, there is a place called Kalyan, and there is a dargah there called Haji Malan. I don't know if you have seen that. I visited with my family, and I was surprised there that the Hindus also visit, they offer coconuts. Muslims visit, they offer full of each other. And the name of the Mujawar of the Dargah, the name is very interesting. It is Pandit Vishnu Ketkar. That ends the matter for me. So this is where the matter of spirituality, devotion. I am not a scholar of religion. That way I am not a scholar of anything. But little things which I understand from life, that people have seen religion as a binding force. So whole of the medieval period, if you see, it was an interaction between Hindus and Muslims in particular, and partly in the Christians. Like Christians also, we see that they are also being demonized a lot. Christians also, you should remember that in India now they are saying that Christian missionaries converting force, fraud, fraudulence and all that. But real story is that Indian Christianity is older than American Christianity. And Indian Christians percentage, like it began from AD 52, nearly 1970, 80 years. Now from that on, today according to 2011 census, the percentage of Christians is 2.3%. So many times I ask them, Christian missionaries coming here, 1900 years, converting. How many people they could convert in 1900 years? 2.3%. So if somehow I become the evaluator of their work, should I make them pass or fail? Obviously at 2.3% nobody can pass unless you is son or a daughter of a minister. So this is how, but people's perception becomes so strong, oh Christian missionaries, oh Muslims, oh this and all that. Now, so this is what was utilized by the British, or actually a lot of it was promoted also by British, and the first thing which they did was to bring in a book called History of British India by James Mill. And James Mill for the first time tried to periodize the history into Hindu period, Muslim period and the British period. See the cleverness of this. Hindu period followed by Muslim period followed by, not by Christian period. That becomes a British period. Okay, anyway, now this Hindu-Muslim thing which we see again, like there are a lot of, currently of course so many things are happening that even the events are being changed. I thought same events can be constructed into one pattern of history or another pattern of history. Now to do away with the problem, the events themselves are being changed. One interesting thing I'll tell you, this is very funny, like Akbar and Rana Pratap, recently a lot of serials have also come there, and in Rana Pratap, normally we know that Rana Pratap was defeated in the battle. So now Rajasthan Education Minister says, how can we say that Rana Pratap got defeated? Let's change the book. Openly the fellow is saying that let's say Rana Pratap won in the battle, Akbar got defeated. Anyway, I said, how does it matter who wins the battle? Because they were both the Hindus were on the both sides, Muslims were on the both sides. Akbar that day did not come to Haldi Ghati. I don't know what was the problem. He took casual leave or he was sick, I don't know. Who came in place of Akbar? It was Raja Man Singh. And Rana Pratap was being assisted by whom? A person called Hakim Khan Sur. Very simple. Hindus are on both sides, Muslims are both sides. Is it a battle for religion or power? It is a power. It is for the king. So those type of things, like in our Maharashtra, you must be knowing that one of our greatest kings people remember is Shivaji. Our railway station, Shivaji. Airport, Shivaji. Big part, Shivaji. Vada Pav, Shiv Vada Pav. Okay, we are enjoying the Shiv Vada Pav. And they say that, oh Shivaji, anti-Muslim. I try to understand Shivaji Afzal Khan. Shivaji that time was being assisted by a person called Maulana Haider Ali was his secretary, and one Rustami Jamal actually guided him to take iron claws with him. And Afzal Khan, when he was beaten, he was attacked by Shivaji, Afzal Khan was being supported by a person called Krishnaji Bhaskar Kulkarni. Now what is religion is this? The Hindus both sides, even Muslim kings are employing Hindu, like Aurangzeb, okay. Aurangzeb, the most demonized Muslim king. Please note that Professor Athar Ali's classic book on composition of Mughal dynasty tells us 34% of the courtiers, court officials of Aurangzeb, 34% of the court officials of Aurangzeb, they were Hindus. And topping the list is Raja Jai Singh. So how this comes to be? British come in, they introduced communal historiography, as I explained in the morning, communal historiography. Here, religion of the king becomes central to the history. And that is used, like particularly I say, British must have felt the need to propagate this history, particularly after 1857. 1857, first war of independence as labeled by Savarkar. Like, I hope you remember, who was the person who lit the spark of 1857? Mangal Pandey. Who came to lead the war? Bahadur Shah Zafar. Who were the associates of Bahadur Shah Zafar? Tatya Sahab, Tope, Nana Sahab, Peshwa, Jhansi ki Rani. Hindu Muslims came together, fought against the British. British crown got shaken, and that's where they brought in the policy of divide and rule more intensely. So Muslim communal historiography started projecting that we were the rulers here, Hindus were cowards, Hindus are nobody. And Hindus started saying that in this Hindu nation, Muslims are the invaders. I'll come to that shortly. So this is where I think the roots of communal historiography, they start the process of demonization. And as somebody correctly pointed out, this communalism is a modern phenomenon. It's a modern phenomenon. It begins in India with the coming of British. Now, second point, we note that why did British come to India? A beautiful book by Shashi Tharoor, something related to empire, it should not be used by the young people. British came here. Now, British came here primarily for trade. They ruled here and they plundered the country left, right and center. Now, of course, today our Prime Minister, down everybody says that India has been a slave from last 1400 years, 1600 years. They go on extending. They try to relate it that once Muslim kings start coming, India becomes slave. Now, my question in case, of course, I can't talk to them directly, but through you I can talk. Now, where did the Muslim rulers took away the wealth from this country?
Nowhere.
Kabul, Kandahar, Makkah, Medina, nowhere. They lived here, died here, became a part of this land. And who took away the wealth from this country? It was the British. They never integrated into the local this thing. Their head office remained internal. Now, in order to plunder the country, they brought in 3 changes. Of course, in the popular style, I'll tell you. You will remember it all your life. One is, of course, for transport, taking the material from Pune to Bombay. Earlier, there was bullock cart. They said bullock cart is very slow. So, what did they brought in? Railways. First major change, railways. Now, second was that British Viceroy living in Kolkata, he has to send the letters to all his officers. So how were letters being carried before the British came? Some people say pigeons. Of course, pigeons is a very beautiful answer, but pigeons had a limitation. They used to carry generally love letters. Useless letters. Okay. So they said, okay. They brought in telephone, telegraph, postal system, which we remember as mail. And third is, of course, positive, negative both together. Modern education, modern administration, and one part of that was jail. So just to remember, rail, mail and jail. Okay. Now with this, 3 new classes come up. Businessman industrialist, Tata, Birla, Bajaj, Singhania. They set up industries. Next class comes up, working class. And with this also comes up modern educated classes. So this side I say rising classes. Businessmen industrialists, workers, educated classes. And the earlier classes, please note here, if we can understand this part, we will understand communalism has nothing to do with religion. Communalism is an attempt to retain pre-modern social values in the modern setup. Please try to understand. So, social changes are coming up, new powerful groups are coming up, old powerful groups, landlords, Rajas, Nawabs, I hope that much Hindi Urdu will do, Rajas, Nawabs, they feel threatened. As they feel threatened, they also form some organizations. So some organizations come from rising classes, and these classes I call it declining classes. Some organizations come from there. Just see the pattern of names of these 2 group of organizations, you will understand how declining classes are using religion as a cover to retain their privileges. Just one sec. And now from rising classes, my 3 major representatives are Sardar Bhagat Singh, Naujawan Bharat Sabha, Bhimrao Babasaheb Ambedkar, Republican Party of India. And in the third category, the biggest party which came up to lead the national movement, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, any dissent? Sardar Baldev Singh and Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, Bharatiya Rashtriya Congress or Indian National Congress. Now from declining classes what happens? I am not going to spare anybody here. From declining classes, there is a long history. When I say Jinnah, there are 100 interpretations. But I just, for the limited purpose, declining classes comes Muhammad Ali Jinnah, name of the political party, Muslim League. Savarkar, about whom our friend told us, what is the name of his party which he joined? Hindu Mahasabha. Please note the names. What are the names here? Naujawan Bharat Sabha, Republican Party of India, Bharatiya Rashtriya Congress. What is the pattern here? Muslim League, Hindu Mahasabha. So it is not that these people are doing for religion. They are representing the declining classes. And the declining classes values. Here the major values are, what are the major values? I'll come to RSS in a minute. Now here what are the major values? Of course, my friend, young friend Rajiv told us something about Gandhi. That is a matter of debate. But Bhagat Singh, Gandhi, Ambedkar. Many differences. Lot of differences between Bhagat Singh and Gandhi. Lot of differences between Ambedkar and Gandhi. But there are some common factors. Please note the common things. What are the common things? Number one, they all believe in Indian nationalism, right or wrong? They all believe in secularism? Yes. They all believe in liberty, equality, fraternity? Yes. My case is over. So these, despite differences, there are some core values in the rising classes. And those values are liberty, equality, fraternity. And please note here, Muslim League, Hindu Mahasabha. On the top of it, it may appear कि वो एक दूसरे के खून के प्यासे हैं. Believe me, you who वास्तव में चोर चोर मौसे मेरे भाई हैं, they have the similar values. And here I must point out any politics in the name of religion. Christian fundamentalism, Islamic fundamentalism, Hindu communalism, their core values are the similar. Their attitude towards women, their attitude towards low caste, low class people is just the same. And that's what I'll try to explain. Like Muslim League, Hindu Mahasabha, most interesting point is, initially they were together. Hello, their origin was together. Nawab of Dhaka, Raja of Kashi. They come together and they form a group called United India Patriotic Association. They pledge their loyalty to the British. They say our religion teaches us that we should be loyal to our ruler. Very simple. So Congress and Bhagat Singh and Ambedkar, they are trying to rebel against British. This is against our religion. So please see the mechanism of doing politics under the cover of religion. Basically, what do they want? They want their feudal privileges, feudal social system to continue. What is the feudal social system? Number one, about class structure. What is the class structure? There is a landlord and there is a serf. Zamindar or Garib Kisan, they cannot sit on the same sofa. Zamindar will sit on the sofa, Kisan, if at all, he will have to stand or he will have to sit. And what is the relationship between man and woman? Very important. We forget the gender aspect. But I see gender aspect is a central, crucial part to the communal politics. And there, most of the people, it may be Christian fundamentalists, Islamic fundamentalists, or Hindu communalists, they regard women as their property. That's why if a Hindu girl converts into Islam, they feel that we have lost our property. So that's why love jihad is very disturbing. That's why inter-caste, inter-religion marriage is very disturbing. Oh, we are losing control of our women folk. And second point which they say is about the caste structure. In India, caste structure is central to understanding Indian politics. And in the class, for that what Dr. Ambedkar tells us, Indian society is like a 4-storied building. Some people they identify this with a glorious past structure, but in this building, 4 stories are there, but there is a problem. What is the problem? There is no staircase. If there is no staircase, people from down cannot go up. People from top anyway don't want to come down. They don't want to come down, these people don't go up, so caste structure is good. Anyway, so it was actually, in Indian case, there was another thing. India came to be through the freedom movement. There was nothing like India before the British came here. There was this empire, that empire, and through connections by railways, transport, mail, India as a nation emerges, and who contributes into the formation of the nation? Everybody. Industrialists, workers, women, Adivasis, everybody participates in the India, and that's how the concept of India. Now, so people from this side, rising classes, Bhagat Singh, Ambedkar, Gandhi group, they contributed to the making of modern India. And people from this side, Muslim League, Hindu Mahasabha, RSS I'll bring in shortly, they kept totally aloof from the freedom movement. Why they kept aloof from the freedom movement? Very simple. Freedom movement was for secular democratic India. So is Muslim League out of hand that it will participate in the secular movement? It wants a Muslim nation. And what does Hindu Mahasabha want? Hindu Mahasabha wants Hindu nation. So they are also not out of their mind to participate in that. Anyway, so stop here, and from Hindu Mahasabha Savarkar, he introduces a word, two words here I'll elaborate on. One word is Hindutva. Very confusing, very confusing. Today people think that Hinduism is a religion. Hindutva is a religion. Four words you remain clear, you will never be confused. Hindu, Hinduism, Hindutva, Hindu Rashtra. Now Hindu word actually is not there in the so-called Hindu scriptures. Vedas, till 7th century the word Hindu is not there. How does it come to be? It comes as a geographical category. Like when Bhagat Singh says Hindustan Socialist Republican Association, here the word Hindu is being used as a geographical category. The people coming from the west, they had to cross Sindhu river. In their language, the word Sa is used less often, so they made it Ha. So Sindhu becomes Hindu. So this land becomes Hindu, number one. So as a geographical category, all the people are Hindu, no problem. But geographical category gives place to the religious category. So second word comes in the form of a Hindu religion. No prophet for Hindu religion. Why? Because it's a different religion. It's an ensemble, collection of all the religious traditions prevailing in that subcontinent. What are these traditions? Brahmanism, Shamanism are the main part. What is Shamanism? Brahmanism is belief in the hierarchy of caste and gender. And Shaman tradition, Nath, Tantra, Siddha, Shaiv, Siddhant, Bhakti, they are away from Brahminical values. They more or less believe in the equality of caste and gender. But what is the dominant tendency? Dominant tendency is Brahmanism. So that's why Ambedkar says, as Hinduism is prevailing today, Hinduism is a Brahminic theology. So he is actually summarizing, because Brahmanism is a dominant part. So what are the holy books of Hinduism? Vedas, Puran, Upanishad, all those where there is a caste and gender inequality, they are regarded like other literature coming from these different sources of Bhakti, Nath, Tantra, Shaiv, where these things are not there, they are not presented as this thing. So Hindu as a geographical category, Hindu as a religious category, and here Savarkar brings in Hindutva. What is Hindutva? Hindutva is synthesis of three major things. One is the Aryan blood, race, like Hitler concept, German race. Second, one is a race, second is a land spread from Sindhu to the seas, that is the second component, and third is a Brahminical culture, Brahminical values. These are the three foundations of the word Hindutva. Okay. Now, Hindu Rashtra, so means as our friend Kannan explained, so we are Hindus from times, Hindu Rashtra from times immemorial. Just one more point I would like to elaborate in detail. So during the freedom movement, three types of concepts came up in nationalism. Number one, first concept is that of India as a nation in the making. So here the concept is what? We are making the nation in the modern times. So Muslim League, what does it say? Well, this ready-made business we don't like. We are already a ready-made nation since the time Muhammad bin Qasim attacked Sindh and occupied Sindh and ruled Sindh. So they are taking identity from a Muslim king. Not to be left behind, Hindu Mahasabha, later on RSS joins. They say, oh, this Muslim League, what is this nation in the making? We don't believe in that. This Muslim League says that they are a nation from last 1100 years, from 7th century. Forget it. We Hindus are a nation from times immemorial. हम अनादिकाल से हिंदू राष्ट्र हैं. Our friends were telling us we were earlier nomads, right? Was there a concept of nation at that time? Not at all. Then that becomes a pastoral society, like our Aryan society was there. Was there a nation concept of nation? No. Actually, nation and religions institutions, they develop with the settled agriculture. And concept of nation actually takes roots with the industrial society, with all these things coming in, which I tried to present to you. Now anyway, so here comes RSS in 1925. Hindu Mahasabha is already there, but RSS comes in 1925 mainly because of two factors which are disturbing it and one inspiration which it takes. What are the two factors disturbing RSS? Disturbing some of the upper caste, landlords, Brahmins. What is disturbing them? Number one, what is disturbing is them. In 1920, Mahatma Gandhi's non-cooperation movement associates average people into the freedom movement for the first time. For the first time, what we can call Are-Gare, Nathuk Hare, ordinary people, they also become a part of the freedom movement. Number two, at that time, with the inspiration of Jyotirao Phule, Ambedkar, the Dalits launch a struggle against landlords and Brahmins. That is called classically as non-Brahmin movement. These two things disturb the elite of the India and they take inspiration from Hitler. The things which my friend explained. So these are the three foundations of RSS, and specificity of RSS is that it decided that we will create Swayam Sevaks and Pracharaks. Now this is how is it different? That they did not directly jump into politics. They went on training programs, which of course nobody else could emulate. Communist parties were having cadre schools, I don't know where are they. But their training programs sustained 1 day, weekly, monthly, 6 monthly, all these programs, ultimately leading to Pracharak. Pracharak means propagator. Propagator is the highest category in RSS. Now what are these propagators to do? Now initially RSS propagators means they were supposed to work for RSS. Later on, they formed different organizations. Rajiv has given a brilliant presentation on that. So all these are basically manned by Pracharaks. Some of the Pracharaks' names I'll also give you, you can guess. Like you know our India's present Prime Minister, Pracharak, okay? Then India had a Prime Minister who also used to write poetry. Pracharak. Then there is a person called Pramod Mutalik who keeps beating up girls who go to cafe and all that. All Pracharak. So Pracharak is a person who for the sake of Hindu Rashtra either will form some organizations or equally dangerously infiltrate the system from within. What is that infiltration? It is education, media, police, bureaucracy, everything like the God is everywhere. Similarly, these Pracharaks can also be found everywhere in India. Okay, now, so this is what is the basic philosophy? Basic philosophy is that Hindu society from times immemorial, very good, no problem. When does the problem begin? Problem begins with the coming of Muslims. Now, because of Muslims coming, they wanted to convert. That created caste system. Caste became unequal. They had eyes on our women. That women's status got degraded. Now this is their claim. But there is a single book which deflates all their claims, and the name of the book is Manusmriti. Muslims like Islam, 7th century, 8th century, Muslim kings coming to India, 7th century and 8th century. So what does Manusmriti say? Whatever RSS believes is there in Manusmriti in a very subtle fashion. Okay, so this overall, but the value of propaganda, the value of creation of self-image is so strong that they believe that ancient India was absolutely a flawless society, and the society started degenerating after the Muslims came in. Here I must tell you, some philosopher, some academic has to give us a proper word. I call it externalization of the internal problems. The basic strength of RSS lies in this construction of Hindu nationalism and construction of a Hindu nation coming from the past. Other things I think my friends have discussed. Now what is the difference? Last couple of points I would like to make. Now as such also RSS has been progressing, developing day in and day out from last 90 years. since the time, the type of issues, now society has different type of issues, butter, shelter, employment, survival, dignity, human rights. Other issues are related to identity. Now, most of the communal organizations, they are not bothered about survival in this world. They are talking about identity issues. So what are the identity issues which gave prominence to RSS? Initially, the concept of Hindu Rashtra. After India became independence, the first campaign was about Indianization of Muslims. Please see the type of hurtful thing they said right in the beginning, that these Muslims are not Indian in that sense, we should Indianize them. Second was cow slaughter, all these big issues, but they really got a big lift in the decade of 1980s when Rajiv Gandhi committed two major mistakes, Shah Banu and then opening up Babri Masjid. They fully capitalized on that, and Ram Temple, Lal Krishna Advani, that is what built BJP into what it is today. Now, what is the difference? Of course, with Rajiv, I may have some other points to add, but basic point I am saying that BJP, RSS, cannot be compared to any other party, for God's sake. If there is a God, I will request in that. BJP is the only party whose agenda is determined by RSS. BJP is the only party which has hundreds and thousands of associates scattered everywhere. Congress, very bad, no problem. But please, even then, it cannot be compared to the type of ills BJP can bring in. Simply speaking, because I have been giving a lot of lectures, many times people do ask me finally, oh, you are telling us so much about history, this, that, and other. Tell us, whom should we vote? Whom should we vote? Now that's the dilemma. You say Congress, you get trapped. So much corrupt. There is a family lineage. It is a family-owned party. So I said I will escape all that. So I developed a formula. I said that we don't have a choice between good, better, and the best. We have a choice between bad, worst, and BJP. That's the type of thing I try to give. That's why some things are incomparable. And that in comparison is because of it. Now this debate, a lot of friends have been doing. Around 15 years ago, I wrote an article in EPW that left, for example, our left is generally very confused, shifting from this side to that side, saying that we have a third alternative, fourth alternative. In the process, the left is committing a harakiri, destroying itself to no end. But defeating, of course, this is again negative agenda. Defeating BJP is a negative agenda. There should be some positive agenda. Today in India, secular democratic values cannot be promoted unless there is a unified opposition. That goes without saying. All our experience of last many things tells us that the BJP, like Amit Shah, had made a statement, let's unite the Hindus and divide the Muslims. And that's what they generally try to intervene, like even in UP elections. They played a very clever trick, which is very dangerous. They try to present that to Hindus, they try to say that, look, Mayawati is also pro-Muslim, Congress is also pro-Muslim, Mulayam Singh anyway is pro-Muslim, so who's the party, which is a party for you? That's a major plank in Uttar Pradesh. In Assam, they try to create the scare of the poor Bengali Muslims, calling them as infiltrators and trying to polarize. So one point which I tried to note, and here I try to bring in Yale University also. Now, I began with communal violence, and I also said they are not spontaneous. They are organized in such a way that they look spontaneous, and sometimes even minority community people are appearing to be throwing the first stone, but that's all appearance. The real thing was brought out by the very beautiful study from Yale University. Of course, you are in America, so I don't have to, you must be knowing Yale University very well. How did I come to know about Yale University? You know that MHRD minister earlier, Smriti Irani? She said that I have brought a degree from Yale University. Since then I came to know about Yale University. Now, what does Yale University study tell us? It tells us that wherever communal violence is orchestrated, in that region, over a period of time, BJP becomes electorally powerful. Not my study. Here I bring in Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes going to investigate a murder. And people ask him, sir, how do you accurately predict who's the murderer? He says, simple. I go and investigate. Whosoever is the biggest beneficiary of the murder, that has to be the murderer. And after the communal violence, who is becoming more powerful? Rest of the inferences I'll leave to you.
Yes.
Now, as I pointed out earlier, now what do we do? Ultimate question is that Muslim friends sitting in America, in Indian community, Indian Muslim society, probably one of the worst. Repeatedly I bring such a committee to your notice. It told us that during 60 years, most of the communities have come up in India, barring Muslim community. Muslim ghettos, earlier problem of poverty, intensified by communal violence. So first there is a problem of poverty, inequality, and now comes a problem of insecurity. Police had a regular pattern. Wherever there is a communist, there is an act of terror, catch hold of few Muslim boys, put them there, and of course we had been members of the tribunals after the terrorist attacks, where mothers, father, sons of the young people arrested come, and none of us could stop from crying. Why? A young man studying in the dental college, studying in the law college, is just picked up by the police, and his whole career gets ruined. And after 6 months, they get released. So this condition is that of Muslim community. That's where I appreciate your effort to promote education in India, but it has also to be supplemented by the issue of employment. It has also to be supplemented by the issue of security, that is, issue of human rights of the Indian Muslims also. Of course, human rights of Muslims and Dalits, they go hand in hand. Look at the issue of beef, cow beef, right? And it's not only that Muslims have been lynched, the next community which suffers is the Dalits. And Una, I'm very glad that now young generation people have come up, like I think Sheila is here, Jignesh Mewani, Kanhaiya Kumar, and all these people, they give us a lot of hope to the declining generation. I talked of rising classes, declining classes, so I'm talking of declining class and the rising class in which we have a lot of hope. And this issue of Dalits, Muslims, women's equality, they are all linked together. And one simple, I feel like taking a test of my friends, don't mind about that. I want to take a grammar test. And that is because of I am very interested about gender issue. What did I say about the full form of RSS? You must be doing Rashtriya? It is a masculine gender, feminine gender? Masculine gender, right? He's right? Yes. So can women be the part of that?
No.
Fortunately not. Yeah. But we have to use them. So how do we use them? There is another organization which is at the peak of this women's RSS subordinate. Its name is Rashtra Sevika Samiti. What is it? Rashtra Sevika Samiti. What is here? Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh Rashtra Sevika Samiti. So what is missing? Swayam. What is Swayam? My being. According to every male-dominated patriarchal ideology, the Swayam, being of man, is supposed to be in the pocket of man. Yeah. Research needed. Why men's shirts have pockets? That's the topic of research. Right? So it is not just a question of Muslims to me. To me, it's a question of democratic modern social values. It's a question of defending Indian nationalism. So, Indian Muslims do require dignity, equality, security. What can we do for that apart from education? Please think about that. Of course, evening again I will be talking, and mainly my focus is that how do we build a society? How do we repair this damage, irreparable damage? For 60-70 years, especially, I'll blame the left movement. It has not focused on how do we try to counter such traits which are represented by RSS type organization. And here I have nothing particular about one religion or the other. Please distinguish. Two things must we remember. One is not criticizing Hinduism. While criticizing RSS, one is criticizing politics in the name of Hindu religion. My major criticism, people who are accusing me, they think I am anti-Hindu. They think so. But I say that there are two Hindus I put in front of me. One is Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. I identify with him. One is Nathuram Godse. I distance from him. I criticize Nathuram Godse and RSS and Hindutva politics, and I uphold the values of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, Kabir, and all the same tradition. So friends, we have a lot of job to do. We have a lot of job to do. In America also, while living here, I think there is a need to build bridges with every community. That because major thing, I think if we can succeed in that, how do we counter their propaganda? And that propaganda countering is not so difficult, but let's give it a serious try. So I just feel like giving you some references. There is a app, somebody was talking about the role of Muslim freedom fighters. Very much there. Please download a app, Muslim freedom fighters, which some friends from here. Please download a app, Unite India. Sorry, I hope you will forgive me. Some other things I will be telling you which I have participated in. Unite India is based on this myths and reality which we have tried to put together. So this, can we activate our young friends into social media where these things are taken to the people? Our friend, great friend, Tisa Setalwad, her website is there, suburbanindia.in. Follow it and make others follow it. There are websites like my own one, pluralindia.com. So these things we are trying to update lately. Don't forget to follow The Wire, thewire.in, I think, thewire.in. Brilliant stories, and there are now videos being uploaded twice a day. Videos on the contemporary topics of India are being uploaded. Some good friends are talking on that and doing that. So awareness, very important. How do we do it? Young friends can do it, decide it much better. And along with awareness, inter-community building of the bridges, absolutely important. Through festivals or through whatever programs you think of. And thirdly, of course, Rajiv was correctly saying, issue of social movement. I believe society cannot change without social movements for justice, without just social movements for rights. They have to be promoted, supported, and encouraged wherever possible. This is the only way. And also please note, as that's my basic understanding, that we are not fighting just for the cause of Muslims. We are fighting for the cause of democratic rights of every victim of the society. Thank you very much.